welcome to day 3 of Black Student Success Week. Today is Hump Day, and we have just the right people to take us over the hump today, facilitated by some of my favorite people in the system, the magnanimous Helen Young, and the nicest vice president in the system, Mr. Herb English. Today's session is titled appropriately, The Path to Transfer Success, a Clear Highway or Traffic Jam. So let me get in the word. In the words of the great LeVar Ball, stay in my lane and not delay. This dope panel of presenters and faculty and HBCU leaders. We have folks from the CSUs, the UC system, transfer center directors, the chancellor's office, and the RP group. And my favorite fisherman scholar, the wonderful Dr. Vicky Shabazz, is in the house as well. So with that being said, if we can move on to the next slide, we always want to reflect back on yesterday. Yesterday was very, very important. Bursting those leaks in the pipes. We talked about securing that pipeline for Black student success. We're reminded of the K-12 pipeline and the impact it had on retaining and recruiting Black students in this area of COVID. If we go on to the next slide, we want to make sure that we thank our partners who made this possible. And that is the Keenan Group, Connects Ed, San Diego Mesa College, North Orange Community College, El Camino College, the League, the Community College of California, Cypress College, as well as Fullerton College. And we want to thank our silver sponsors as well, the Foundation for Community Colleges, the UC system, from the Office of the President, California Community Colleges, Atkinson, Andelson, Loya, Rudd, and Romo, Victor Valley College, Compton College, and we also have here LCW. Zooming in because I can't see as well. So with that being said, we encourage you all to continue the digital dialogue that we've been having. My colleague and phenomenal moderators who always love to be communicated with. The next slide, Eric Handy and Katrina Linden are going to take the day off and turn it over to Helen Young and Mr. Herb English to take us through the day. But I want to turn it over to Eric Handy to talk about some of the logistics for today. Brother Eric, the floor is yours.
Dr. Bull, thank you, and welcome back everybody for day 3 with over 1,500 people watching the daily webinars entitled The Black Hour. That's right, with over 1,500 people tapped in. We encourage you to head over to our YouTube channel to watch it live. As well, we want to remind you once again to follow us on social media at CA Black Students. Again, that is at CA Black Students. Are you ready to win? Nah, you're not ready. Are you ready to win a $100 Uber Eats card? Remember, every day we're giving away a $100 Uber Eats card to one lucky winner. To enter, follow us on Twitter or Instagram, register for the daily webinars, create a post or a tweet using the hashtag The Black Hour or the hashtag Black Student Success Week. So you know what time it is, right? Drum roll. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Today's winner is Risha Nicole Moore Coleman. That is right, Risha Nicole Moore Coleman. If you know Miss Risha, tell her to get at us. Tell her to respond to us on Instagram. We have sent her a message. Congratulations on your winnings. Also, as well, don't forget, we are giving away 50 winners. Will receive $20 Uber Eats card each day. The winners will be chosen randomly just for registering for the webinars. So even if you can't make the webinars, I suggest you get out there and register. If you won before, if you won one of those $20 Uber Eats card, show us some love in the chat. Hit the chat, show us some love, give us a shout out on social media. Speaking of social media, quick social media shouts out on Instagram to Dr. Sahar Awan. That's right, president of Los Angeles Southwest College. And on Twitter to Miss Connie Gutierrez, the director of DSPS with Rio Honda College. Thank you both for repping the Black Hour. We see you. Shout us out. If you got your swag, you got your Black Hour, shout us out, send us a note, let us know. You never know, you might get a shout out and you might receive a special prize. Do you want to support racial equity in education? Purchase your swag today. That's right, you can get one of these lovely shirts, bucket hats that you saw me wearing yesterday, hoodies, they come in different colors, red, green, orange. We have them for you. The link is in our bio on social media. Next slide, please. Available now, the new California Community Colleges podcast featuring host Chancellor Eloy Oakley and special guest, President, CEO of Compton College, Dr. Keith Curry, and one of my mentors, my big brother, President, CEO of Casumas River College, Dr. Edward Bush. Join them for a discussion on the importance of creating a new landscape for Black students to succeed. Available on all digital streaming platforms. Go, download, and listen today. Next, we have for you on day 3, special guest host. First, I'd like to introduce Miss Dr. Helen Young, who possesses over 25 years of experience in the field of education as a counselor, director, and administrator. In 2019, Dr. Young co-founded Pipelines to Possibility, an internship program which is designed to prepare HBCU graduate students for careers in the California Community College system. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Herbert English. Mr. Herbert English is Vice President of Student Services at Ohlone College, also President-elect and Treasurer of AMEND. And as well, Mr. Herbert English is one of the few people that I know in the world who truly, truly loves students and will give the shirt off his back to students. So thank you. Hold on tight to your seats because you're in store for a treat. With no further ado, I turn it over to you, Dr. Young and Mr. Herbert English.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. It is a pleasure being with you today. We have an all-star cast that will be speaking today, providing information. I'm just excited. Monday was awesome. I'm inspired by the words of our panelists on Tuesday, Dr. Lundy Wagner, Dr. Fortune, Dr. Ashanti Hands with her words. But I was even more motivated by Micah Ali when he was speaking yesterday, really pushed me that this is not about our efforts, it's about our outcomes. And one thing that I keyed on last year is, equity is this new overused word, and equity is cliche now. Whoever thought of the term equity for all should give up their title, their degrees, and really get out of the way so we can really serve the students of our system. But I got one question for you before I go into my introduction. What are you doing to create change for Black students? And I want that to be something that we really think about today, because it is exhausting work. It is tiring work. But are we going to be a part of the problem and sit in these meetings and constantly allow people to talk around the issues that are affecting our students? Monday gave us evidence. Tuesday gave us evidence. And I guarantee you today, you will have more evidence of the change that must happen. And I must remind you, this system is not broken. This system is working perfectly fine. And some of you are part of the reason why it is working. I need a change. I need a change this year and next year and the years after that to really, really, really give our students an opportunity to succeed. So without that, I get to share today with my partner, Dr. Helen Young, and I have the honor of introducing our first speaker. And I want to first say, these bios do not capture the work and the accomplishments of our cast today, but I hope we can give you a snapshot. Our first speaker today is Dr. Darla Cooper. Darla Cooper serves as the Executive Director for the Research and Planning Group for the California Community Colleges. Dr. Cooper has worked in the California Community College system for over 20 years, having previously held institutional research director positions. She led the Support Redefined, a landmark research project that examined what supports student success, and has been invited to present on the work at various venues across the state and nationally. Dr. Cooper has extensive experience serving as an external evaluator for several federal and private foundation grants and has worked on various other projects to design, promote student success, including the Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence and the RP Group's Bridging Research, Information, and Culture Initiative. Dr. Cooper has also direct experience assisting students in achieving their educational goals in her previous work at the University of California as a Director of Research and Information, Student Services Counselor, and Buds Person. Dr. Dollar Cooper, can you please share the findings in the Tipping Point report as it relates to the transfer of Black students?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you all again here today. If we can bring up my slides, I will get going. Nope, maybe not. So I will start by saying I'm here to talk about our African American transfer tipping point study. Let's go to the next slide. So we always want to give a shout out when there's a foundation that supports you. You want to make sure that people know, and we are very grateful for the Lumina Foundation who has been supporting this effort. Next slide, please. We always want to include this for anyone who's not familiar with our organization, the Research and Planning Group for California Community Colleges, a nonprofit organization that serves as the representative organization for the researchers and planners across the California community colleges, as well as conducts research like what I'm sharing with you today, and we host various professional development events. Next slide, please. So this all started with our Through the Gate study, which I believe I have shared in this venue and in many others, where we were looking at students who had completed all or most of their transfer requirements, but were not transferring. And we came up with these terms of kind of at the gate and near the gate to represent this group of students. One of the key findings from this study is when we disaggregated, again, looking at this group of students who had made a significant progress, when we disaggregated by race, what we found was that African American students were the most likely to have transferred. Did y'all hear me? The most likely to have transferred. So that says there must be some kind of tipping point. There must be some point, because we're all familiar with the data that say that African American students are struggling, right? They're struggling in this system to get to transfer. So what's happening? Where does that switch to where they become the most likely to transfer? So we said we need to find someone who'd be willing to support us answering that question. So that's what I'm here to share with you. Just the very beginnings. We're not finished yet. We're in progress. But I wanted to come and share with you what we've learned so far. So let's go to the next slide. So again, these are the data, right? So it's 2.04 times more likely to transfer than to be near the gate, and 1.17 times to be more likely to transfer than to remain at the gate. Those are the numbers to tell you what I just said. But again, they were the most likely and more likely to transfer, again, if they can get past some tipping point. Let's go to the next slide, please. So when we were doing this study, these were the kind of questions that we're trying to answer. Where along this academic journey, this continuum, are we losing students? Because the issue is that a lot of our students are not getting to whatever that tipping point is. And so we need to identify what that is, but where are we losing them? And why are we losing them? See if we can't hone in on that. What is preventing them from getting to that tipping point? And again, where is that? What are the factors that lead to that? And what are those programs and practices that are having success? Where we want to find where the success is happening so that we can lift that up. We want to elevate that. We want to show people what is working so that it can be replicated across the system. Next slide, please. So again, we have a few phases here. What I'm sharing with you today is from our first phase, where we wanted to start similar to how the approach we took with Through the Gate. Let's start with the data that are already available. Let's pour through that. Let's mine that data and see what we can determine in terms of identifying patterns, connections, what factors kind of rise to the top, which factors are, let's say, the most predictive of students being successful in terms of transfer, and where are we likely to have to lose them, right? And then this phase that we're starting to move in now is the qualitative piece. So we have this information, but it can only tell you so much about what's happening to students. We'll find out so much more once we talk to them. So at the end of this little tease, I'm going to share. I literally did a focus group last night as a part of this project, and I'm going to share one quote. I don't want to give too much away. Again, it was last night, so we haven't had time to process. But I really wanted to share one of our students' voices in terms of how they see things and how they're experiencing things. But we will be doing additional focus groups and interviews also with the practitioners, the folks. A lot of folks are on this call right now to find out, what are you doing, what efforts are you making that are making a difference for African American and Black students' success. And then once we have those two pieces, we will do a statewide survey of our African American and Black students at different points in their journey to try to pull that whole picture together and identify what these tipping points are and what we can do about them, more importantly. Next slide, please. So here's what we found. Again, this is just the quantitative data. Again, we're talking to the students right now and the practitioners to try to add some context to this. But the two factors that are popping to the top are completing transfer level English and math in the first year and attending full-time. Those seem to be, again, in the numbers, the most influential things, the highest predictor or correlation with success. But we also found, and again, I hope nobody's really surprised by any of this, but this is confirmation of what you may have always known, but weren't able to demonstrate. But it also, probation, our students are more negatively influenced by probation. Probation is bad for everybody. Getting on academic probation is bad for everybody, but it's especially bad for our students. And not surprisingly, our students are more likely to be on probation. Trust me, we're looking into that. We have some thoughts about that one. Emoja helps. Another, not surprising, we did a whole study that showed how Emoja makes a difference for our Black students and their success, and that Emoja students tend to be more successful. So shout out to Emoja. Some of you may know I am the Emoja board president and proud to be that as well, and wear that hat wherever I can. But Emoja makes a difference, and it came out in the numbers, again, both in our previous study of Emoja, but also in this study as well. And then the last one there is the counseling is similar to probation in the opposite way, in that counseling helps everybody. Counseling is a predictor of success. However, it doesn't seem to be as strong a predictor for our Black students. And that's one that we really need to dig into and see what those differences are and what may be happening there. So those are, again, the real preliminary. This is just scraping the surface of what we're finding. But this is just, again, that initial piece of information. So much more has to be looked into. And we're so looking forward to actually kind of rolling up our sleeves and getting in there with finding out what's behind, underneath, next to all of these this information. Next slide, please. So I know when we've shared this information, people want to know, but did you look at this? Did you look at that? Did you include this? Did you include that? I figure we would just go through. I'm not going to read all these to you, but you all can see, just to give you some sense of the comprehensiveness of factors that we looked at in this particular study. So we looked at a number of either student characteristics or participation, whether they were involved in different programs. I do need to point out, though, the three that are there, you see them highlighted. Unfortunately, we were not able to include these data in our study because these data are not being collected consistently throughout our system. And again, we're looking at Black students statewide. If your college has good data on these characteristics and this kind of any other characteristics or participation of your students, we would encourage you to look at that. But we did want to point out that we tried, we were thoughtful, but unfortunately the data just aren't there for us to include. Next slide, please. These are all the different factors that we looked at in terms of like student behavior, right? The things that they did academically, whether they took and passed transfer level English and math, what was their major, how many units have they completed, did they participate in orientation, did they receive counseling, things like that. So it's these different behaviors that students have that we could track in the system. I was trying to talk and give you a chance to read that since I'm not going to read it to you. Next slide, please. And then finally, we wanted to, the college is a factor. So we wanted to look at different college characteristics to see what kind of influence those have as well, not just the student, but where it's located, how many Black people are on the campus, students, faculty, staff, how many Black people are in the community, how many degrees do they offer, things like that. So again, I'll pause just to give people a chance to read some of these things. But again, we just wanted to give you a taste of how many factors we looked at so that you can give the information I share with you, you can put that in a bit of context. So you can do with that what you will. Next slide, please. So obviously these numbers that we're coming up with, we know this is not the whole story. We need to learn from those colleges that are having more success with their African-American and Black students transferring. So again, we're talking with these students, we're talking with the practitioners, and part of what we're doing when we're meeting with these folks is we're sharing the findings that we just shared with you all and asking them, what do you think based on your personal experience, based on what you've seen? Why do you think that the numbers are telling us this? What do you think is happening in this particular case? And they're giving us some wonderful, brilliant insights that I'm so excited to be able to, or will be able to share with you in the coming months. And then I mentioned earlier that we're going to take all this information to create a statewide survey. And again, pull everything that we've gathered into something that is designed with action in mind. This is not a report that you read and go, oh, that's nice, and put it on the shelf and move on. We need action. We need change. Next slide, please. So this is the quote that I promised you at the beginning. I will read this one to you, but this is fresh off the presses, so to speak, although there are no presses. But this is a student that we talked to last night. I don't think it's geared to who I am and what I'm looking for. It's not that I'm trying to go to school with a bunch of Black folks. That's not what I'm trying to do. It's just that the representation they have for different schools in the transfer center is not really clicking with me. It's literally in the same building as the resources that I'm currently using. And I'm finding myself like, nah, that's not for me. Even the people that are at the front desk, I'm like, they don't even really seem approachable. So that's real. It makes a difference with representation at that counter. Again, this is just one quote we pulled out. There's many, many other quotes that we will be sharing in our future communications. But again, I thank you for allowing me the time to share what we've learned so far. And I've been seeing the chat go, and I look forward to having the opportunity to read all of that. But I believe I'm passing this back to Herb and Helen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cooper. We appreciate the study. Can't wait to read the final product. And now I will pass it off to the magnanimous Dr. Helen Young.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We come here to bring some heat. You've heard the data. Now we need to talk to some folks who run systems, right? Folks who are in the weeds. Well, okay, maybe in the clouds, but often find themselves in the weeds when they're connecting with us at the local level. I am super excited to introduce this next set of panelists today. Most of these people I have known professionally for quite some time. So let me just get to it. Let's go to it. Let's make it happen. So for this next part, we have Dr. Aisha Lowe. Dr. Aisha Lowe serves as the Vice Chancellor, one of my sheroes. Education services and support for the Chancellor's Office, and provides leadership for the Educational Services Division activities, including transfer articulation, curriculum chaptering and approval, equity programs and grants, innovation in teaching and learning, special project management, and system-wide technical assistance delivery. Dr. Lowe is a passionate educator who has dedicated her life to improving education for all students in all communities. Dr. Michael Brown was appointed provost and executive vice president for academic affairs at the University of California in 2017. In this role, he directs the development of academic and research policies, provides administrative oversight of the university's academic planning and associated budget matters. He's some money man, y'all. Serves as a liaison of the university-wide academic senate, executive vice chancellor provost for 10 campuses, student government, academic leaders of other segments of California higher ed, directs planning, policy development, and strategy in search areas in K through 12 academic prep, international academic activities, library planning, university press, research, and student affairs. Yes, Dr. Brown does it all. Dr. Nathan Evans, one of my longtime friends, currently serves as Associate Vice Chancellor and Chief of Staff for Academic and Student Affairs at the California State University System Office. In this capacity, he serves as a Senior Strategic Advisor on Academic Affairs and Student Affairs initiatives and represents the system in state and national venues on academic affairs and student affairs matters. He also serves as a Senior Enrollment Officer for the CSU system. He previously serves as the Director of Enrollment for the CSU, responsible for system-wide admissions and enrollment management policies, transfer programs, and academic advising. He serves as the chair of the California College Guidance Initiative Advisory Board and on California's Intersegmental Coordinating Council Executive Committee. Our next panelist is Dr. Ricky Shabazz, serves as the San Diego City College President and CEO, providing executive leadership at one of the most innovative and socially active community colleges in the nation with a focus on student completion, success, and more importantly, social justice. He has previously held positions as VP of Student Services, San Diego Valley College, Dean of Student Services at El Camino Compton Center, Associate Director of Admissions, Harvey Mudd College, Mesa Program Director and Assistant Director of Undergrad Admissions at the University of California at Davis, and an analyst at the University of California Office of the President. He takes pride in helping students from diverse communities achieve academic excellence and building highly effective teams. Dr. Shabazz serves on the board of Sharp Hospital, the San Diego Workforce Partnerships, and the Jackie Robinson YMCA, YPO Pacific West, Amend, and the President's Roundtable, and a host of other community agencies. Our last panelist is Dr. Malak Abdullah, became the president of Virginia State University on February 1st, 2016. Under his leadership, VSU has experienced extensive achievement and success that include implementation of a new strategic plan for 2020-2025. A $30 million, y'all, dollar gift to VSU from philanthropist Mackenzie Scott, and increased their four-year graduation rate to the highest four-year graduation rate in the history of VSU. Yeah, this man is bad, y'all. On March 31st of this year, Dr. Abdullah was appointed by President Biden to the Board of Advisors on Historically Black Colleges and Universities, which was established by the Carter administration to increase the capacity of HBCUs to provide the highest quality education for its students and continuing to serve the engine of opportunity. I welcome you all this afternoon. I know I threw it down. I just wanted to let people know how important you guys are and what you bring to this community. So we want to center this next part of our conversation around the 1960 California Master Plan for higher education. Supporters might say it helped to provide the coordination to the higher ed education system and define the roles of our three systems, CSU, UC, and the California Community College. Critics might say the plan is based on elitism and social stratification. So my question for you panelists today begins with this one. It can be argued that the plan is working perfectly based on its original intent, but is the plan still meeting the needs of the state? And more importantly, its citizens, given the changing factors of demographics, funding, and student outcomes? That is my question for you today to begin this conversation. And I'll open it up to anyone who wants to jump in. Come on, Dr. Shabazz. I know you got some ideas about this.
Well, thank you. And if if you go take a look at what I posted on Facebook, it almost matches this perfectly. The master plan is working. It's outdated. I'm a product of the CSU and the UC. Let me say that, and all due respect to my colleagues, but the University of California is a perfect example of social reproduction, where the majority of the students who attend are coming from the middle class, upper middle class. The California community colleges educate more Black students than any other system of education in the country. But when you look at the number of students who transfer, just sheer based on math, and shout out to Dr. Cooper, my sister, there's some other data that we know that there are approximately 1.8 million community college students. There's only 280,000 slots at the University of California, only 485,000 slots at the CSU. If all 1.8 million California community college students wanted to go to a CSU or a UC, there aren't enough slots at those universities. If you looked at the number of freshman students who are admitted into the UC and CSU and compared that to the transfer students, there's still, so even if a Black student is admissible into the CSU or the UC, the question begs to be asked, will they actually gain admission? And particularly in admission to those UCs and CSUs that they actually want to go to. The end result, respectfully, going back to the master plan, is California community colleges need to be able to offer bachelor's degrees so that those students who come from diverse communities, first generation Black students, have an opportunity to actually achieve a bachelor's degree.
Wow. Dr. Brown, your thoughts on this?
You just wanted to get me out here in front of this. All right, Dr. Young, I understand. And let me say this. And by the way, I really appreciate what Dr. Shabazz had to say. I am really appreciative of what Dr. Abdullah is doing. I want to honor really what Amend is trying to do, and what you're doing, what Dr. Cooper is doing. So I got a heart full of appreciation. Let me just talk about the issue of equity that Dr. English spoke to, because he said that this term has become almost cliche.
Yes.
Well, because these are the times we are in. We are in the times of at least a consciousness of equity. I'm not saying we're in the times of wanting to do something about equity. I'm saying we're in the times of being conscious about equity. And by the way, what Dr. Abdullah and with that donation that he just received is showing is really beginning to deal with the real issue of equity. The real issue of equity is who gets the goods and who gets the bads. Okay, that is a distributional question. Okay, and if you think about what the master plan is, the master plan is about the allocation of resources. That's what it is. Okay, and it's about the allocation of scarce resources. Okay, so you have to start with, if the resources are scarce, that's one issue. Then who gets them?
Yes, yes.
So
yes.
let's just. So that's how I think about this. And by the way, once you deal with the distributional question, not how you actually respond to it, but actually at least encounter the question. Now you deal with the real challenges of changing the outcomes. Why is that? It is easier to talk about equity than to do it.
Wow. Okay.
To do it means you're changing the allocation of resources.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So um, and people who are, there's a reason why folks who are getting resources now that are good, and those who are getting resources now that ain't so good are getting them. And when you start changing that, now you're challenging the status quo, and that is not easy. So I'm not going to duck that issue. I embrace it, because what I've been all about, all of my professional life in UC, all of it has been about, in various ways, how do we advance inclusive access to excellence and inclusive success once you've advanced the access. And if you're not thinking about those three, inclusive access, to excellence, and success, if you're not dealing with all three, you're not looking at the issue. Because if all we do is give more access, but you're not giving it to success, why waste your time?
Yes, yes.
Because it's access to excellence that makes a difference in someone's life. And once they have that access, if they're not successful in it, how have you bettered them? So those are the three things I keep uppermost in my mind as we deal with the real issues of equity. And so the master plan is just a creature of allocating access. You allocating access to excellence, and along with excellence comes with the likelihood of success.
Loving it.
We can change any of that, but don't think it's cheap.
Yes.
You can give as much access as you want to things that are lesser quality. That ain't anything new.
No.
That is the way of the world. And wasn't that the old Earth, Wind, and Fire song? That's just the way of the world. Okay, so
let's let Nathan Evans jump in.
Let me stop right there.
Let me get some perspective from Dr. Nathan Evans, longtime friend. You've been in this system a long time, Nathan Evans.
I have, and I never want to follow Dr. Brown. I've learned that lesson over the years. But I absolutely agree with. I want to go back to what Dr. Shabazz said at the onset, that the master plan is working as it was intended. It has stratification built in. It says top third, top eighth.
Yeah.
It is built on. It is putting in place a structure to filter students. And let's be clear, this was written in 1960, what it was expected to do. Absolutely. And to connect the dots to Dr. Brown's point, then the funding that goes to that per student is aligned with which of those categories you fall into. So we have something that's 60 years old. Few things in our lives that are 60 years old work the way they should be today. So it's long overdue to really look at this, and more than just lip service to looking at it, but to do something.
Absolutely.
And as Dr. Shabazz pointed out, one pathway is offering additional credentials in different segments. That's one way, but it doesn't affect the full change unless there's something done about the resources that go to
Absolutely.
that. When we have a per student funding formula that divides it up by that same stratification, it just reinforces it. So the other thing I'll point out, and I definitely want to hear from our other colleagues, is this was also created when post-secondary education was, number one, not needed for many successful lives and lifestyles, and it was often a one and done experience. That's not reality. I would say even most of the folks on the screen, it's not been one and done in our lifetime. It's been something we've had to tap into, and it's not been constructed to do that. And that is our reality, that folks are going to pass in and out of needing higher education throughout their lives. And we're not structured, set up service-wise, funded to really address that 21st century reality.
Wow. Powerful. Dr. Lowe, bring us home.
No, absolutely. I will first amen all that my colleagues have already said, right? And I think we are living in the reality of a plan that, as my colleagues have said, is working for what it was designed for, which was about setting segments in their place, all right, within a stratified function. And a lot of it was about avoiding competition among the segments, right? To set them in their place, to say, this is your place, stay in your place. So there wouldn't ideally need to be squabbling over dollars and recognition and prestige, though I think we still experience that quite a bit among our system. So we do have to understand, right, this 1960 plan was about institutional development and expansion. It was about institutional rights and, frankly, avoiding state centralization. It was not a plan about student development or student success. That was not the design. So we are seeing the results of the plan as it was designed. So to sort of bring it home, is the 1960 master plan meeting the state's needs today? I think the answer has to be no, right? The state has changed significantly since 1960. Our population and the needs of our population are not the same. Industry and economic demands are not the same. Technology has advanced significantly. The process of teaching and learning has evolved. I would say the very nature and value of education itself has evolved since that time. So working for what it was designed for, not working for what we need today.
Wow. Well, believe it or not, we are already running behind time.
I mean,
so I'm Dr.
When I know that I ain't in California, but I'd love to get a little bit of this too before you slow it down.
We got you. We coming to you next. Dr. English is going to throw a question to you. We have other questions, but this has been so fruitful. I think this is really what we wanted to talk about, is this idea of the master plan. But we got a question for you, Dr. Abdullah. So I'm going to throw it to Dr. English to give it to you.
Dr. Abdullah, I have a question for you, my brother, but you can definitely, when you have your time, you could definitely jump in on that California master plan. But I'm gonna give you a basic layup question that I think will go right into your California master plan. But what is the value of having transfer students at VSU, and in particular, California community college students?
For one, look, we love California here in Virginia. And so if you're trying to get kids to HBCUs, look, send them to Virginia State University. I came so I could tell y'all that, so we could spread the word to all the students, faculty, staff, everybody, that we love California and Virginia. So now I want to cover the other parts. I'm going to go to that. California, I didn't know there was a California master plan written down, but I do know this. In every single state, you see the same exact stratification. You have your flagships, your quote regional institutions, and your community colleges. And then when you look at your HBCUs, depending on who you are, you got them in that mix. But I think it's not just important to talk about the master plan that was written in the 60s that is still impacting higher education funding today, but look at the master plan that's being developed right now in front of our eyes. Number one, many of our young people, you hear articles all the time now saying that higher education might not be worth it. Higher education isn't worth it. You should go and get a trade or do. And look, I'm not against the trades. The trades are wonderful, wonderful things, but I know 100% of the people that write the articles that say college isn't worth it went to college. 100% of them are sending their kids to college, and at the same time, those messages are for us. Those messages are to say, we don't want you to go to UC, we don't want you to go to Cal State, we don't want you to go to community college. Your choice is to not go anywhere. Second, there's this huge emphasis on loans, on student loans. Look, I do not understand at all. This country was built on capitalism. The art of collecting capital and using capital is actually of loans. We have payday loans on the corner. You need a loan to buy a car. Every one of us loan to buy a house. And yet the thing that we know appreciates the most, which is education, we are actually discouraging young people to get loans to go to college. And the people who need the loans are the people who can't get them are our people. So now I got kids coming to Virginia State saying, well, I don't want a loan. What they're really saying is, I want to go to school. Change the mindset of what's happening right now, because there's a generation of young people that are getting the wrong message about higher education. And that message will mean they don't go to community college, they don't go to Cal State, they don't go to HBCU, they don't go to UC. So the master plan is being written right now. In 50 years, we don't want to be sitting here saying that we lost a generation of kids because somebody else told them that higher education was not the answer to their problems. All right, I'm done.
Woo! Brought the heat. That's Dr. Abdullah. If y'all want to get some of that heat, students on this call, you better think about transferring to VSU. Come on now.
And if any student that wants, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I answer my own DMs. I'm interested in hearing from you, and maybe we can get you at Virginia State.
Yes, trust me, he will answer you. I'm going to throw it to our next group, and we appreciate you, panelists. We're going to move on because we could talk to y'all all day. So we're going to move on to our next set of panelists. Thank you, Dr. Lowe. Thank you, Dr. Brown. Thank you, Dr. Dr. Evans. And so we just thank y'all and appreciate y'all so much. Our next set of panelists are going to take the perspective of the practitioner. And so the practitioner's perspective is so important because you got policy, you got ideas, you got all of this good stuff. But when it comes down to it, we, the practitioner, have to apply and make these things happen. So we've got I believe, two of the most sought after, magnanimous, just two of the people who I love and adore the most. One I've worked with quite a few years, Dr. Tamika Alexander, has worked in higher ed for more than 20 years and serves as PCC, Pasadena City College, Associate Dean Director of Transfer Center. She is a staunch advocate for student success. She has launched community partnerships and implemented a PCC UCLA program for students whose goal is to transfer. Under her leadership, an increased number of underserved students have transferred to four-year colleges and universities. She and her team have contributed to PCC becoming the #1 school in California for transfer to the California State University system and the UC combined. All right, she continues to achieve remarkable outcomes in the transfer of Latinx or Latino and African-American students and community and transfer through community transfer partnerships. Our next panelist is Andrea Williams. She's the current transfer and career coordinator at Berkeley City College. She serves as the classified Senate president and is involved in several campus-wide initiatives, including guided pathway implementation, shared governance participation, and the HBCU transfer guaranteed pathway. That's us, y'all. Andrea's diverse professional experience in higher ed as a financial director, student services professional, project coordinator, program developer have contributed to the intentional approach to student success. Her deep commitment to serving Black and Brown students have allowed her to be seen, heard, and validated by institutions not specifically designed for their success. We thank you, ladies, for being here today. You are our sheroes today. And we have really some important questions to ask you because you're tasked with doing this every day. People can talk about transfer, we can design it, give you guys, and then we hand it over to you and we say, okay, make this happen. So share with us, if you will, how you define the preparation for transfer specifically for our Black students to ensure Black student success. How do you define that, ladies?
All right, I'll go first if you don't mind. As a practitioner, I believe transfer preparation is helping students understand the requirements and giving them the tools on how to navigate the complex transfer process. And then I would define access for Black students as an area like the Transfer Center that intentionally seeks out and identifies the needs of Black students, develops resources to meet those needs, and then empowers Black students to engage in programs that support the development of the student's identity, knowledge, and skills. So those are some things that I think are really, really important to consider.
You got the floor, Ms. Williams.
Thank you. My approach to programming to connect with Black students is really from inception to completion, and even sometimes once they've transferred to four-year institutions. You know, from the beginning, I engage in outreach activities to provide embedded transfer support with learning communities, with Umoja, UBACA, EOPS, any special programs that really engage with Black students. I also am very intentional about collaborating with teaching and counseling faculty to refer students to receive intentional support. And I really apply a holistic and case management to prepare students for their academic experience at BCC and what to expect at a four-year institutions. We talk about their personal story and circumstances that may help or impede their trajectory to transfer. And more importantly, I really and consistently reaffirm their brilliance and their hard work and their resiliency and their ability to realize their goals into existence. And I enlist prior students to return to mentor current students, to offer advice and tangible examples of how Black students can successfully transfer.
I love it. I love it. What are you missing? What do you still need in order to support your Black students on your campus and their transfer goals? What are you still missing?
Well, I'll go first. I can say what we were missing prior to the pandemic. It was resources. But I must say that our president, Dr. Erica Introjanis, and our Vice President of Student Services, Dr. Cynthia Olivo, has moved mountains, if you will, and we now have what we need to make a difference. To give you a couple examples, there are some initiatives that we've implemented, and it's called the On the Yard Experience. And this is where we go to our students. We don't say, oh, come to the transfer center. And right now we're hybrid. We've got the virtual space and the in-person. But this is where faculty will host office hours on the yard. We will put up a pop-up tent the last week the applications are due to help students get started on the application. So we really changed, kind of our approach of it. Instead of waiting for students to come our way, we go to them. And we found that has made a huge difference. Another that was helpful is right after the George Floyd incident that happened, we had faculty and staff from across campus on the instruction side of the house that wanted to get involved. And so we started an initiative called the Freshman 15. Each faculty member got 15 students that they were assigned. They made phone calls. And what was interesting, I was surprised that students actually even answered the phone.
Wow.
But what we did was we removed barriers. If they had a hold on their record or there was a course they needed for transfer. In the transfer center, we have counselors where no appointment is needed. Why are we requiring an appointment? For our students, they may have other needs that are happening in their personal lives. They're going to come when they come. And so we have positioned ourselves to be ready when they arrive.
Dr. Williams, what do you still need? I clearly heard Tamika talk about administrative support is needed because that also comes with dollars. What is it that you still need in order to make sure that you have Black student success with transfer?
We really need an institutional and a collaborative commitment to Black students across from all campus constituents. This can include, qualitative need assessments, action plans with measurable outcomes, collection of disaggregated data that really tell the true story of the state of Black students on campus. BCC was an early adopter of AB 705, which has led to BCC being recently recognized for placing incoming and existing Black students 100% in transfer level English. And again, to reaffirm, you have to invest in transfer centers long-term for the successful, aspect of Black transfer for students. You have to use additional resources like SEA funds or HSI grant funds that are intentional and are required to support minoritized students. And we really should hold one another accountable to offering equity-minded services on liberation pedagogy to include diverse curriculum and faculty and staff that allow for students to see themselves in their learning environment.
Absolutely powerful. You two ladies set the benchmark very high. I spent 5 years as a transfer center director, and I know Tamika was one of my mentors, and I can't thank you enough for being on this call with us today. One of the things we want to remind you is that we have a sketch effect artist happening with us as we go through this hour. Please keep your eye on what you're seeing. This artist is capturing these thoughts, these ideas. This is our pathway. But what do we do this all for? Our students. This is about students. It's not about us. It's not about anything else, our egos. It's about students and those outcomes. I'm going to kick it over to Herb English to introduce our magnanimous student who's going to talk about her experience.
Thank you, Tamika, Andrea, Dr. Young. I have the pleasure to introduce the reason that we are here for the Black Hour is our Black students. Markeisha Richardson, a Southern California native, began her collegiate journey at Victor Valley College, where she obtained an associate's degree in behavioral science. She elected to attend at HBCU to continue her education and transferred as the first student in the CCC transfer agreement, the first student to transfer to Bethune-Cookman University, because she had the opportunity to take advantage of an HBCU tour. So for you campuses that have discontinued that, shame on you. She obtained her Bachelor of Science degree in psychology. While at Bethune-Cookman, Markeisha worked with the university's chaplain department as a student office assistant. Students handpicked by administrators that demonstrated high quality leadership skills. Markeisha collaboratively led in providing on-campus events for students, which included group prayers on BCU's quad and chapel services. Upon graduating cum laude, Markeisha ecstatically joined the outreach team at the California Community College Transfer Guarantee to HBCU Agreement Project. During her time with the Agreement Project, Markeisha assisted and successfully helped many students transfer to an HBCU. Markeisha recently began working as a graduate success advisor at Arizona State University while she is pursuing her master's degree. Ms. Richardson believes strongly in the power of education to transfer lives. Markeisha, can you please tell us about your transfer experience while you were a community college student?
Of course. Well, I just want to say thank you first. It's a hard act to follow, that powerful panel, but basically my experience, it kind of began in high school. I was an average student, didn't really have much support. I'm a first generation college student. My parents never been to college, so I kind of began my community college journey just by a counselor visiting my high school and saying, hey, you qualify to be in the bridge program. So I'm like, okay. My mom gave me the ultimatum: you either go to school or you get a job. And nobody was really, hiring a fresh out of high school student. So I'm like, okay, well, community college it is. So in my first year, I was a part of the bridge program. And that first year was good. I had the support. My classes were planned just for the first year. And then after, that year ended, going into my second year, it was kind of the support kind of had ended. So I kind of had to figure out my journey on my own. And it was a little rough again, because Ms. Tamika, she mentioned, making sure that the Black students understand the requirements and giving them the tools to, be able to navigate those requirements. I didn't have that. So I had to figure that out on my own. So that was a little bit, hard. And then I fast forward to my second year, where it was pretty much my final semester, where I believe the student equity department had just been established. And fortunately for me, but unfortunately, let me say this, fortunate for other students, but unfortunate for me, it was kind of like the ending. But once I did get connected with the student equity department, there was a shift. And I reflect on it back then, I saw it as like, oh, hey, you want to pay for my books? You want to take me on a free tour? sure, let's go, you know? I didn't really think anything of like the HBCU tour that I have been given the opportunity, because I was set to go to Cal State Dominguez Hills, and, you know, I didn't think anything else about an HBCU because I had never really, you know, other than like social media and just, you know, watching like TV shows like College Hill or something like that, I never really had a mindset of attending an HBCU. So being connected with the student equity department opened my mind and allowed me to experience being around like Black excellence and Black culture. Again, I repeat, I attended pretty much predominantly white, you know, middle school, high school. And so attending an HBCU was like, whoa, this is awesome. Like how do I be a part of that? And so VP English, he connected me with the, sorry, excuse me, I'm a little nervous, but he connected me with the agreement project where, you know, they supported me through my transfer journey, and as well as the dean of, sorry, not the dean, the equity department supported me as well, all the way. You know what, they're still supporting me. As you can see, I'm still connected with VP English, Mrs. Young, everyone. So sorry, I'm a little nervous. Yeah, so once I transferred over to Bethune-Cookman, I did have kind of like a rough time and was really homesick. And so when I went back and, you know, I was able to communicate with Dr. Young and VP English, they basically kicked me in my behind and said, no, you're not coming back until you finish. And that's exactly what I did. So I went back to my HBCU and I completed up until, you know, I came back. Dean VP English, he welcomed me with open arms. I'm sorry, I'm so used to calling him Dean English for so long, but yeah, he welcomed me back with, you know, open arms. And then, which kind of led me to work with the agreement project. And so I'm so forever grateful for them and just the support that they had given me, and the support that they continue to give me. And so I think that's extremely important now for students to, you know, experience. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Markeisha, and you did excellent. I just want to say that this young lady has just been an awesome addition to my life, and all the hard work that she put in. She's given me and Helen a lot of accolades today, but she did the work. She studied, she persevered, and now she's pursuing her master's degree, which is an epitome of, if you provide the support for students and really look at them and see in them what they don't see in themselves, they can be successful. So with that, I appreciate all of those that were able to hang on. We only have about 2 to 3 more minutes left, but I want to give it off to Dr. Helen Young for the final words.
Thank you, sir. We want to again thank our esteemed panelists, every last one of you, for joining us today. I think it's amazing how connected Herb English and I are. You know, you would think we were blood brothers and sisters, but he's my brother. But I'm going to leave the final thought that I wrote down last night, which is what he started this session out with. A few final thoughts. Black student success. Who's responsible? We all are responsible. We would like for you to consider this. What is it that is in your sphere, your capacity to impact Black student success related to transfer? Dr. Darla Cooper started us off. If we can get them through the gate, they become a Markeisha Richardson, a student who's now pursuing a master's degree, someone who is a first gen, who never saw herself making these kinds of accomplishments. So whatever is in your sphere, no matter what title you hold on your California Community College, your CSU, whatever it is you do, keep asking yourself, what can I do to impact Black student success? We want you to think about that. No matter what you wrote, no matter what role you play, we encourage you to keep the dialogue going. We want you to join us for the after party. You can probably go ahead and roll those screens. Thank you very much. Join us for the after party. The link is available in the chat as we speak. Please, if you want to continue this conversation and this dialogue about all of the things we've discussed today, the California Master Higher Ed Plan, you want to keep talking about that and what needs to be changed, how it is or is not serving Black students. If you want to talk about the practitioner's perspective and what happens when we need certain support or funding to really make transfer a reality for our Black students. And more importantly, you want to talk about your success stories, the students you've sent off to various institutions to complete those bachelor's, those master's, those doctorate degrees. Join us at the after party. Finally, we invite you to join us tomorrow for day number 4, right? Day 4, transforming Black student success through courageous state leadership. Same back channel right here tomorrow, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Please make sure you join us. We conclude our session for today. We love you. We send grace to you. And again, we want to thank you for joining us. And remember, what are you doing to ensure Black student success? Blessings to all. Thank you.